Steve Jobs was an astonishing presenter. A lot of people miss Steve Jobs for many reasons, of course. I miss his communication skills. He was the world's greatest corporate storyteller. The beauty of YouTube, however, is that it captures some of his greatest presentations. The greatest one, in my opinion, was the 2007 launch of the iPhone. On YouTube, you can watch the entire presentation or just clips from the presentation, and you can see just how extraordinary he really was in terms of communicating information in a way that informed, educated, inspired, entertained, all in one presentation. I think if you watch the 2007 launch of the iPhone, you can learn 3 valuable lessons that you can incorporate in your very next presentation to make your presentation more effective, more engaging, more persuasive, ultimately more successful. So lesson number 1, stick to the rule of 3. Steve Jobs understood that 3 is a powerful number, the most powerful number in communications. It's more intriguing than 2. In fact, for this video, if I only gave you 2 lessons, your brain would be expecting something else. But it's also easier to remember than 22. If I gave you 22 lessons in this video, you wouldn't remember a thing. So stick to the rule of 3. It's a very persuasive and effective use of lists especially. So Steve Jobs would often introduce 3 new features of a product or 3 products. In 2007, he had a lot of fun with the number 3. As soon as he walked out to the audience, he said, "I have 3 products to introduce today. The first is a widescreen iPod with touch control." And people applauded. He said the second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And he got a big round of applause for that because it was the first time that Apple was going to release a phone. And then he said, the third product I'm going to introduce today is a breakthrough internet communications device. And, you know, he had sort of a smattering of applause. People started looking at each other because nobody knew what that meant. But then he repeated the 3. An iPod, a phone, an internet communicator. And he kept repeating them. Well, watch what happens next.
An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
Of course, that was really funny and an interesting way of approaching the topic. It also threw off the audience. It surprised them. And it also gave Steve Jobs a natural segue. He naturally divided the rest of the presentation, the rest of the hour, into 3 parts, where he talked about the iPod, the mobile phone capabilities of the new Apple phone, and its ability to connect to the internet. So naturally, it just helped him divide the rest of the presentation into 3 parts. So the rule of 3, very powerful. It's very effective. Stick to the rule of 3. The second lesson we can learn from this Steve Jobs presentation in 2007, build visually engaging slides. There were no bullet points in the Steve Jobs presentation of 2007, none whatsoever. There were images, there were pictures, but no bullet points per se. This is called picture superiority. It simply means that the brain processes information more easily when the information is presented as pictures and words instead of just text or bullet points alone. I think it works very, very well for any type of presentation. It's very difficult for me in just a couple of minutes to give you a full design lesson, but there are 2 books that I would recommend, books that I still have today in my library because I refer to them. One is Presentation Zen. It's written by Gar Reynolds, who I've come to know and admire very much over the last few years. And what Gar has done is put together a lot of before and afters, which are really valuable. He also talks about the use of empty space, which I love. Empty space meaning you don't have to clutter a slide with too many words or too much information. Use that empty space effectively. The other book that I would recommend, and I've been using this for years as well, is Slideology by Nancy Duarte. Nancy was actually behind Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. She was the one who created the slides for that presentation. Check this out. Sketching. It's very important. A lot of great presentation designers do not start their presentations by opening PowerPoint or opening Apple Keynote. Steve Jobs used to use Keynote software. Instead, they take pen to paper. And they sketch, they brainstorm, they think creatively and visually about how to display the information. So lesson number 2, keep it simple and build visually engaging slides. Lesson number 3, would you have fun? Show some enthusiasm, show some passion. In the 2007 presentation, Steve Jobs was having fun. He was laughing. He had a big smile on his face, animated body language. It was really wonderful to see. He even played a prank on Starbucks. He was demonstrating the new Maps feature on the phone. Ironically, it was Google Maps, and I know there's been some controversy since then. But he was showing off Google Maps, and he was demonstrating just how easy it was to find a location and contact that location. So he looked for a local Starbucks, a coffee shop around the venue in which he was speaking. He actually found the number, called Starbucks. A woman on the other end answered and said,
"Good morning, Starbucks. How can I help you?"
Yes, I'd like to order 4,000 lattes to go, please. No, just kidding. Wrong number. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I actually called the number that I saw flashed on the screen. Sure enough, it went to a local Starbucks in San Francisco. He actually pranked a Starbucks. Now, I'm not suggesting you prank anybody in your next presentation, of course not. But you get the idea. Would you have some fun? Most presentations are really, really dry and boring. Steve Jobs had passion, enthusiasm, and he showed it. So 3 lessons from the 2007 launch of the iPhone. Number 1, stick to the rule of 3. It works. It's very powerful. Second, build visually engaging slides. Keep the slides simple. And 3, have fun. If you're not excited about your product, nobody else will be.